All right, I think we're live. So welcome everyone to the Matt Maran Motoring live stream here on the Matt Maran Motoring YouTube channel. So I'm trying out something new here. Going to do a normal live stream, but we're going to do it for just an hour and in the middle of the week here. And so we'll see if anyone shows up or not. It also is doing this new community thing. So there's this community leaderboard. I have no idea what that is or how that works. So it looks like it says it's a place for fans to stand out in the community. The top 3 get special badges in the live chat. It resets every stream, so you can always try again. So to get on this leaderboard, you need to collect experience points. So you get them by sending live chat messages and sending super chats and super stickers. I had no clue that YouTube was trying this on my channel, but that's what the little crowns were, if you guys see that here. But anyway, so yeah, we're gonna go for about an hour, a little bit of a shorter one here. We'll see how this goes. We just figured we'd try a midweek one, kind of maybe as something to fill the gap of the weekly updates for some people, and also just to try a different time that might work better for people that usually can't do Sunday nights, or would just rather not do Sunday nights. And so yeah, Vishal says the community leaderboard thing is new. Okay, well, glad I'm not, I guess, the first person to be trying this. Hopefully it's not annoying or anything. We'll see. So I see we have, Brian, Lanswath, Danny, Kyle, Theodore, Vishal, and Jazz, Ryan, Kevin, Gus, Linda. Thanks so much for stopping by, everyone here. And TFI, thanks so much for PSA. SiriusXM is free right now if your radio has it. Thanks for letting us know. Very cool. And yeah, I love SiriusXM, so it's cool that they're having a little trial period here. And Linda, yeah, I'm glad you liked the little surprise. So we mentioned this, it wasn't in this past live stream, but the live stream before, this idea of trying out a Wednesday night and seeing how it does. We'll see what happens. And Lanceball, thank you so much for the first super chat here of the evening. He says, hi, Matt. Hope your week has been great so far. It has been great. Hope yours has been good too. We've had lots of rain here, but I have a GR Corolla press car this week, so anytime I have a GR Corolla press car, it is a good week. That thing still makes me so happy. So anyway, yeah, I hope you guys have all been having a great week so far here. And I see Brian says that so far his car spot today was a C7 Corvette and a Camaro. Nice. Yeah, I haven't really spotted anything too interesting here so far this week. Usually all my interesting spots come around the weekend time. So I'll have to wait till Sunday for that. But let me see. Danny says, my spot of the day today was a 96 Oldsmobile 88 LSS in a dark maroon red. Nice. Was that the one that had the was it the 3800, like the supercharged V6 in it, or I can't remember if that's something else. But anyway, very cool. I mean, any 90s GM stuff I feel like is really rare these days, at least around here. So very cool. And Lancelot says his spots this week so far are the Lexus version of the Land Cruiser, which would be the LX, yeah, and then what I think was an Audi A4 Coupe. Interesting, yeah. So if it was a coupe, it would then be the A5. I don't think they ever did like a regular A4 Coupe before the A5, but yeah, those are yeah, actually a really good value if you're okay with used German stuff, and it gives you a cool looking coupe and still a turbo motor and all that. Let me see. Theodore says, hope you and your family are doing good tonight. I hope you're doing well too, Theodore. Thanks so much for stopping by here. And let me see. So Kyle says, I'd like to put something out there. Maybe do an hour or so live stream news update Friday at 9 p.m. like you did once prior. If 2 live streams is too much, I'd be okay with removing Sundays for a weekday. Yeah, that's possible. I think, in the past also, a lot of people said they enjoyed watching it like when they came home from work or like with their dinner, but there were a lot of people that enjoyed it on a Saturday morning. So yeah, that would be a little different. Sorry, I'm moving my camera here a little bit. That'd be a little it would be me just basically reading the car websites that I usually got my news from, and it would be less interactive. And I'd be worried that to cover everything, even in half as much detail as I usually did, and also interact and discuss it with you guys, could be a little long. I don't know if that would actually just be able to be contained to an hour. Maybe it could, especially if we keep it concise and I don't respond to everybody. That could maybe work. But yeah, I'm curious to see if anyone else has any thoughts on that idea that Kyle suggested. Let me know. I'm curious to get everyone else's thoughts on that, and I can even do a poll here in a minute. But yeah, I mean, think that over. I think Friday nights sometimes, the other thing is like that is like weekend time for a lot of people. So I'm just worried that everyone else is out doing better things on a Friday night. I kind of like Sunday nights because I figured most people usually aren't out doing stuff, and Sunday night you're kind of just like chilling at home, getting ready for the week and stuff. So versus Friday night, I'm sure people with more active social lives than myself are probably out doing things on Friday night. I don't know. I mean, it could be. I'm not opposed to it. I'm usually not super busy on a Friday night. I just have to figure out, what day works best for everyone here. And I'm curious because I think a lot of people were excited about Wednesdays here, so I'm curious to see, how this does as we get into the live stream here tonight. But let me see here. And thanks for the suggestion, Kyle. I'll definitely, we'll consider it and see what other people think here. And let me see. Theodore's happy he doesn't have to wait till the weekend, and happy that you guys are enjoying these. So, and Notorious CRG, thank you so much for a super chat. He says, spots of the day are black 458 Spider and red 48 Pista. Very nice. You either got very lucky today or you live in a place where you have a lot of very cool cars all the time. That's impressive. So very nice spots. I'm jealous. And Hugo, thanks so much for being a member for 23 months now. He says, hey, man, hope you're doing great. Have you thought on doing a podcast? The problem with podcasts, and I kind of discussed this a little bit, and a few people who commented about this in the last weekly update, was that podcasts are hard to monetize. You can monetize them. And I mean, I guess YouTube doesn't do a very good job of labeling it, but the weekly updates were labeled as podcasts for a long time. And a lot of people, especially those with YouTube Premium that are able to listen to audio only videos, treat it like a podcast and would listen to it, while they're doing other stuff. So to me, it already was a podcast. And, a lot of the podcasts you see these days are video podcasts. So it's like exactly what I was doing. Like, I think I was right there with the earliest people doing video podcasts in a way because of that. And so the idea of doing it as an audio only thing has been something that even when I was doing the weekly updates, people suggested just ripping the audio and throwing it up as a file onto, Spotify or whatever, and, just how it is a podcast as well. I was always just worried that would cannibalize viewership on the channel and I wouldn't be getting paid for the podcast listens. The only way you get paid on podcasts is if you're constantly getting sponsorships and constantly selling yourself and pitching yourself to companies. And that's a whole nother, job in and of itself, pitching sponsors and stuff, and just would add more workload to, my already maxed out schedule. So that's kind of the problem. If there was an easy way to monetize automatically and it actually paid decently, a podcast was something I was going to consider, but now since it's already been something I've cut off, if I were to go back and do an audio podcast, it still is, even if I don't do the filming and the editing, I mean, that, it depends, but I mean, sometimes that only takes a few hours. Really, the most intensive part is just researching the articles and, coming up with my own take on things, which I mean, I could do off the cuff, but also like fact checking and, cross-referencing and, there's other things that go into, not like this is journalism necessarily, but there's other things that go into good journalism than just like reading stuff. It's also making sure that, you're getting all the viewpoints and getting all the information, because some articles don't give you everything and other articles give you other things. And so combining multiple articles and getting all the info, pulling from the press release as well for, this, that, or the other, there's just a lot that went into it. And that was the time consuming part that caused me to spend an entire day typing up the script for the weekly update. And so that wouldn't be solved for the podcast. That would still be an entire day lost, just compiling everything. And so, I mean, that does cut down on the production time a little bit if I don't have to worry about filming and editing, and I can just, read the script and, upload it and that's it. But, um, it's still just something that is tough whenever you're not getting paid for it or paid very well for it. So that's why, I decided to, do the Car Buzz articles instead, and use my time to do something that I put in X amount of work, I get X amount of dollars every time, and it's very much the stability that I need right now with YouTube being all over the place. So that's why and also, there's always room for someone else's podcast, I suppose. Maybe I'm alone in this, but I feel like podcasts are so overdone too. And instead of adding another thing to the noise, and especially, since Doug does his as a podcast, like trying to compete with Doug, clearly that's what part of what killed the weekly updates. Like, there's no way I can compete, bottom line. And also, I think a good podcast, like, for something like that, has usually another host to bounce off of, and I unfortunately don't have the luxury of having someone else easily accessible and available to do these with me, really. So that's also another component that's tough. So there's just a lot that goes into podcasts, and it's just not a simple thing to just record my voice and throw it up. It's a little bit more than that. So that's why I probably won't be doing a podcast. I'm not opposed, and if there's some platform someday that monetizes them better, and and things open up for me so I have the time to do that or something, then that's something I'm open to. But I'm more excited to pursue other fun video ideas that I'm going to be trying to do, and again, trying to do the articles and stuff as well instead. But thanks for almost being a member for almost 2 years now, Hugo. I really appreciate it. So thanks so much. And Jordan, thank you for a super chat. He says, spotted an orange and white Volkswagen Buzz here in the small town of Milton, Florida. Nice. I'm glad to see another Buzz out on the road. And that's a fun creamsicle kind of combo there. So that's fun. Thanks for sharing, and thanks for stopping by. And two, thanks so much for being a member for 3 years now. You crossed the 3-year mark. He said, Matt, let's test that weird project. Also, we need basement merch. Could we see a GR Camry with a 2-liter? I'm waiting to upgrade my Camry. Yeah, merch isn't very hot here, so I think it's been multiple months now since anyone bought anything from the merch store. I don't care. It's funny. So merch is another thing where the only way I would invest any time in merch is if I had fun t-shirt ideas that I actually wanted to, just do other things that weren't like branded stuff or inside jokes, but actually just, I don't know, funny things like, I'm not even going to try and spitball, but fun car shirt ideas that haven't been taken already. It'd be the only thing I'd be doing for that. But anyway, as far as GR Camry, I think what you could see is GR Sport. We saw that now with RAV4. I think it's very likely you see the same thing for Camry. The only other thing I'm thinking is, I don't know, now that ES is slightly different from Camry, and they used to, I guess technically, ES was based on Avalon, but same kind of platform as Camry. I'm wondering if we'll see an electric Camry, and maybe that'll have a performance spin possibly. If not, though, I've been saying this for years. They should just do the Prime thing, which is now just the plug-in hybrid thing, and see what we see with GR Sport for RAV4, 320 horsepower and a plug-in hybrid setup. I don't know if that's what you're referring to with the 2-liter, but 2.5 liters, I think, what it uses in the RAV4. So, I see what you mean about if you're talking like the 2-liter turbo motor, maybe, or if that's a 2.4, so not even that one. I'm not sure. I don't know what you're talking about with a 2-liter, but I think there's a variety of ways they could do it. They could do it with a Crown Hybrid Max setup. There's a bunch of ways you could do GR Camry. Whether they do it or not, I don't know. I think they're pretty content with the way Camry's going. Obviously the TRD versions were a real nice little boost for them, and I think did really boost the enthusiast appeal in that vehicle. But I'm not sure, if we can expect anything more than, again, GR Sport. And even that, if that's the only plug-in hybrid version, that still would make it tough. I think the thing that makes GR Sport easy for RAV4 is the fact that you have it with other trims as well, so it's not just a GR Sport thing. And so I feel like if we did get a plug-in hybrid GR Sport Camry, you would then see also them expand plug-in hybrid availability to Camry to other trims as well. So, but I don't know. I really don't know. It seems like Camry's kind of doing a different thing than RAV4 now. So I'm not sure, how they're gonna play it. I would assume they're gonna want to electrify Camry more than just the hybrid, at some point in the future. So I'm assuming plug-in hybrid would be the next step to take. But I have no clue, what they're planning for that. And for now, it's a long life cycle for Camry, so they may just chill for a few years and do something later this decade or something. I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, thanks so much again for being a member for 3 years now too. I really appreciate it. Notorious CRG, thank you so much for a super chat. He says, part of my SLC equals money I do make. I make do with the LC 500. So I'm not sure. I'm trying to decode your message. I apologize. My part of the SLC, maybe DLC. I don't know, because D is right next to S. So my part of the DLC is to. Yeah, sorry, I'm not. I'm not understanding. My part of Salt Lake City. Gotcha. Okay. Is money, and I make do with an LC. Gotcha. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for the help. So that's pretty sweet. I mean, I've been to Salt Lake City. My grandma has actually lived in Salt Lake City, and I know there was a few nice areas and a few nice restaurants, but I never knew there was like a super ritzy part of Salt Lake City, honestly. So that's cool. And very jealous of the LC 500 as well, as you saw with my freaking out over it in the video I posted here this week. But yeah, it's gotta be fun to own, I'm sure. That's my goal someday too. And congrats on achieving that. And thank you again for the super chat too. And Jordan, thank you for a super chat as well. He says, as a used car buyer, would a mint condition 2016 Honda CRZ compete with current hybrids as far as mileage per fill up? I don't remember off the top of my head what MPG the CRZ was rated at. But it's probably not going to be quite as good as, modern hybrids, especially the ones from Honda, which are so good. I mean, a Civic hybrid gets 50 mpg. So probably not. And as far as like range, if you're talking amount of miles for each fill up, that too, again, with the better efficiency is going to be probably longer, because CRZ does probably not have a large gas tank. So probably not, would be my guess. I'd have to look to actually know for sure, because I mean, it was, pretty small amount of power, so it's not, quite as powerful as like Civic hybrid, but I'm not sure. I mean, you're still going to get, pretty good fuel economy either way. It's a smaller, lighter, car with not a lot of power, so it should be pretty good on gas. I just don't know exactly how that really compares. ICTFI says the Clarity would fit the bill better. The CRZ is too niche with the 2 doors and 2 seats. Yeah, I mean, the Clarity is also the vehicle that a lot of people forget about. It's a great vehicle if you want 4 doors for sure. Yeah, really. I mean, all the versions, the regular hybrid, the plug-in hybrid, they're all great. And and let me see here. So where were we? Let me see. So I see sorry, I'm just getting caught up on the member questions here. So I see Vishal says it's the perfect day to stream, spread out enough from Sunday, like a midweek treat. I'm glad you like it. Okay, yeah. And let me see. TFI says, my cardio has improved since cycling. Hit up an ice cream place that had basil flavor. It's surprisingly good. Interesting. I've never had basil flavored ice cream. I could see like because a lot of people pair like basil with like watermelon and vinaigrette and stuff these days. So I could see like a little like minty basil kind of thing that could be interesting. And congrats on the improved cardio. It's something I need to work on as well. Been trying to do more walking and stuff, but again, just trying to find the time can be challenging. Michelle says we're 2 minutes in and mentioned the GR Corolla already. You know it. And Chad says, hey, I'm so happy you're doing this. I had to miss the last 2 due to work. Well, I'm happy that this works better for you here, at least this week. And thanks so much for stopping by, Chad and Jordan. And let me see, Truck and Car Guy, thanks for stopping by. Vishal says, I remembered my interesting spot so far, a Pontiac Bonneville Supercharged SSEI, I think. Nice. Yeah, I wouldn't have even remembered the last part there. But yeah, always cool to see those old supercharged GM sedans. They're really cool. I'd love to review any one of them someday. Lancelot says, should we start a drinking game where we all drink whenever he mentions the GR Corolla? Yeah, well, in a week like this, it'd be dangerous for sure. And that would be, I do need to actually drink too in one of these live streams sometime. It'd be fun. And two says the basement was flooded last week. Told you how to avoid flushing. Well, thanks for keeping the basement lore going too, and I hope you're doing well. And Adam, thanks for stopping by. And Gus says, are you going to do a review on the 6-pack charger when it comes out? Definitely hoping to. We will see. I don't know any details as far as exactly when it's coming. They did kind of delay it. It was supposed to be this summer, and now it sounds like it's going to be second half of this year. So anytime, from July on, basically. So we'll see. It might still be summer, but might be late summer or something. And I'm not sure if I'll get an invite. I'm usually getting invites for charger stuff, so we'll see. I'm hoping to, but I'm still even waiting for charger EV press cars. I haven't gotten either of those. I guess they're not going to probably have any RT versions anymore since they're killing that one, but still would love to try out the Scat Pack for a week because I only had it for a day there, and would love to get more time behind the wheel of that. But definitely will be doing the 6-pack at some point for sure. And two, highlighting the GR shill. I really wish, I was in GR's pocket. And Vishal says, I like the Sunday stream with a midweek 1 hour Wednesday stream. Okay, so we'll see. I see everyone else. Nicholas says the midweek as well. So we'll stick with this for a little while. And if people decide they would rather have a Friday one, we can give that a try too. TFI says two's probably in the GR trunk. The GR trunk could not be roomy enough for an adult, I don't think. It's one of the smallest hatchbacks ever made as far as like hatch space. And this one has this like rear brace that I didn't even know was an option, but it's like $720 for this cross brace in the back, which is cool, I guess, if you want the maximum rigidity or just the eye candy, I guess. But then that even kills the ability to fold down the rear seats or pass stuff through at least. So it hurts the practicality even more with that. So yeah, I still adore GR Corolla, but I do wish the hatch was a little bigger. And there's like a wagony kind of version in other parts of the world that I wish we got, because that with GR stuff would be like even more perfect. I think it'd be super cool. And let me see. Danny says, my mom graduated from high school in 1994. Man, your mom is younger than I am. That's crazy. And since one of my friends is taking me to their senior prom, my mom's date from prom picked her up in a Dodge Shadow. It was kind of a flashy sports car. Nice. Yeah, Shadows were cool. All the Mopar stuff from back then had some flair in its own way, and some cool stuff. Or actually, you said graduated high school in 94. Never mind. I got mixed up. I thought you meant born in 94. Never mind. Your mom is still older than me. I didn't graduate high school till 2008. Sorry, brain fart. And let me see. Maybe Gaming BH says, what do you think of the new style of turn signals coming out? The new X7 turn signals are just supposed to look like they're fading in and out, but to me, they just look broken. Interesting. I always thought that was kind of a cool effect. It's kind of another way to do the sequential kind of turn signals and brakes and stuff that we saw with Mustang and stuff that's now becoming more commonplace. To me, it looks intentional, and it looks cool to me, especially if you see it's a newer BMW. I would assume people would say, okay, well, that's just kind of meant to do that, but I mean I could see the idea of it being broken if it's like struggling to light up or whatever, possibly. But I thought it looked cool, actually, and I have a review of an X7 coming next week, so stay tuned for that. And let me see. Mr. 705 is excited about the stream here. And Confirmation, thank you so much for a super chat as well. He says, good to see you in the midweek, Matt. I'm working on my 1976 Jaguar XJ Coupe V12, and I'm manual swapping it with a 4-speed manual from an E-Type. Wow, that is awesome. I don't know if you do YouTube or Instagram or whatever, but that'd be fun to kind of follow. I will warn you, if you film it, though, it's going to take twice as long. So that's the price you pay for trying to do car stuff while filming it. But that is a really cool project. Yeah, you are far more mechanically inclined than I'll ever be. That's really cool. I hope that it works out well. I've always heard horror stories about Jaguar reliability, especially those old Jags, but I'm curious, how that all works out for you. But that's going to be really, really cool. I'd love to at least just see a picture of it when it's done or something. Or I don't know where you're at, but I'd love to do like an interview or something. That's another idea I've had for a long time, is just doing owner interviews and getting other people's perspectives instead of it always just being my perspective, and kind of, yeah, just interviewing other people in the car world, and cool things that they're doing, and sharing their stories on a platform that's a little bit more widespread than just someone posting it up on their own. But yeah, that's really sweet. Thanks for sharing, and best of luck with that project. And let me see. Danny says, I was born in 2008. Matt graduated high school the year I was born. That feels weird. Yeah, I'm going to be 35 here in about a little over a month. So I am definitely old, by some comparisons, I suppose. And let me see here. Kyle says, my Ford dealer had 3 Maverick Lobos and sold pretty quickly. A $40,000 price tag prior to any discounts. Interesting, they sold that quickly. Well, hopefully that's a good sign that sport trucks are indeed maybe coming back, or at least in high demand for the Maverick size. That's cool. There's been rumors that Dodge is going to come, or Ram's going to come back with a sport truck kind of thing. And there's also, I think there was actually spied this past week an F-150 Lobo. So I think they're gonna spread that out, and I hope, I'm all for these street trucks. It's cool having the off-road stuff, but for me, obviously, I'm not much of an off-roader, so street trucks sound a lot more fun to me, and that would be really cool. So we'll see. But that's exciting to hear that they're getting them sold pretty quick. I think Ford and just everyone still is selling pretty hotly. Especially the car companies that have locked in pricing, for the time being, because it's a closing window here for a lot of that stuff still. So there's probably some of that playing into it as well. But obviously, especially since Lobo's just come out, I'm sure there's a lot of early adopters too that are snatching them out pretty quickly. And let me see. Linda says, I get that folks don't want to give up a Friday day update. You really have to be a good steward of your time. Yeah, and I appreciate that. And yeah, it's something that I'm just going to continue to work on, trying to balance things the best I can here. TFI says, have Daisy and Pippa co-host on the podcast. We can discuss favorite treats. Yeah, that'd be fairly quiet. Although Pippa is pretty noisy. She is very talkative, and she'll do a bunch of meowing and chirping and stuff whenever we come home and welcomes us. She's very sweet. Daisy really only talks whenever she's being extra needy or wants food, and those are the only 2 times she ever talks. But yeah, that would be. I wonder if someone's done that, like a meowing podcast. I'm sure someone has got to have tried that already. If not, that might be a strange but possibly good idea. Like, in all seriousness, I don't know, like a cat ASMR thing or something. I don't know. Anyway, Rishi says, welcome surprise. Didn't realize you did these twice a week. This is the first one. You're watching the inaugural, Wednesday live stream, I suppose. And yeah, just figured we'd give it a try here. Someone suggested this, I think, about 2 weeks ago, and said, sure, why not? We're going to just only do it for an hour here, so it'll be a little shorter, but, going to just see how it goes here. And let me see. 2 says he needs to send me the script. I'll keep an eye out in the Discord for it. And Nicholas says, hey, Matt, really like that engine article on CarBuzz. I'm glad you appreciated it. And yeah, I'll be sharing my future articles. I already submitted one. I'm still waiting for it to get published and all that. But I have another fun one coming soon. And I got another one I'm working on that is a little bit of a different thing. I've been doing a lot of these list things, but there's a really interesting take I'm going to try and do as well for something a little different. But yeah, I'm going to be working on a bunch of articles here in the next few days, and hopefully have some more stuff here posted up next week. So stay tuned. I'm glad you're enjoying those. I really am enjoying doing the writing and hoping that continues to be something I can keep going with for a while. And 2 says 2.0 for a GR Celica. Yeah, I mean, that would be great too. That would really be neck and neck with Prelude if they do, put in, like the motor that we see in like, Prius. Although I think is that a 2-liter or is that a 2? I think is that a 2.5 now? I forgot. Anyway, I'd love to see. I don't know what Celica, what they're doing with that. There's been all these rumors. I'm guessing if it did come out, it would be Tokyo Auto Salon, in the fall here. So maybe they're just holding it, till then. But I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen spy shots. So I don't know if Celica is actually happening or not. But I sure hope it is. And let me see. Rishi says we probably won't get the ES. It's unfortunate, meant to replace the LS as an electric sedan. That's more of a temporary solution as the brand new LS type vehicle will come with solid state at the decade's end. Interesting. I hadn't heard that about the LS. That's an interesting rumor. I mean, there is like the, new platform is kind of like a reverse engineered Tesla gigacasting kind of thing that Lexus is working on. And yeah, I know they're working on solid state batteries as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's cool to, see what they end up doing with that. And I mean, it makes sense to put it into the flagship like that. So yeah, I mean, Lexus also did say at the Toyota HQ thing last week in their presentation that they have a big announcement coming for Lexus at the Tokyo show here in the fall. So I'm not sure if that's just more details on this next generation platform or if it's a new vehicle or, what the announcement is there. But there's a bunch of stuff that's in the pipeline. Like, I mean, there's even, that other thing, the GR, like GT3 racing car that's like an actual race car, but they're going to be having to do a homologation like special for those. It'll be street legal. And that should have been out by now, I feel like, as well. Maybe that'll be also saved for the fall. There might be a bunch of stuff like there was 2 years ago whenever we had like all the JDM icons revived in concept car form. We might see something like that again this fall. We'll have to see. Let me see. So 2 says, I can see them not selling the Celica here because 2 doors, so they can probably just put the GR Celica stuff into a Camry, connect the dots. Yeah, maybe. I mean, but there's also, since again Prelude is being sold here, I think Toyota would be happy to compete. So, and especially, I mean, they justified GR86, and if Celica is even larger, maybe even has a little bit of a bigger back seat, a little more livable, I think that there's a very good chance that could be something that they do sell over here. Again, assuming tariffs don't screw all that up. But I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't sell it here. Especially Toyota has the money and is also crazy enough to offer something like that because look at their sports car lineup already. So I wouldn't give up hope for Celica here. I think hopefully we will get it, assuming it actually again even happens. But sorry, I missed the other couple of super chats here too. Jordan, thank you for a super chat. He says Slate could influence affordable EVs, possibly like Toyota. Possibly. It's hard to say. I think Slate is going to be, one of these things where car companies probably sit back and watch and see. Okay, well, obviously Slate's going to be first. Is it going to be well executed? Is there going to be an opportunity for a car company to come in and do it better? Is there going to be, more demand than Slate can keep up with? Or is there going to be gaps that Slate isn't able to deliver on, like a 4-door, for example, that maybe someone like Toyota could come in and do that, very quickly and easily? The problem with some of this stuff is platform. The Slate is really small. I'm not sure how scalable the ETNGA platform is, for example, with Toyota, to do something like that. I think, if you're going to see someone do it, I could see GM do it because we do have, I think we're supposed to get a new Bolt this year. They killed the Cadillac XT4 to make room and revamp the factory and all this for Bolt. And now no one's heard a single thing about Bolt or any spy shots, like nothing. So I don't know what's happening with that, but that would be kind of my go-to would be, and I think GM is also, there's been rumors they were toying with like doing focus groups of like 2-door trucky kind of things that apparently rumor was that it got killed off. But maybe if Slate, came out of the blue with this thing, maybe that's something that gets revived and you take a Bolt and you do the same thing. You hack the back end off of it, and then you at least have a truck version. I think the whole like putting the cab on the back is brilliant, but I don't know if other OEMs would be willing to sell you a back seat and seat belts and all that like Slate is doing. That seems just something like car companies' legal departments wouldn't sign off on. So I think that's but GM has, that I'm assuming that small platform with Bolt, and no one else really has that small of a platform. Ford's smallest platform is going to be the Mach-E, which can you scale that down to a truck? That would still be way bigger than the Slate, especially if, you just take a Mach-E and turn that into a pickup. So I don't know, because it's just the Slate is so small, it's skinny, it's I just feel like that'd be very hard for a car company to replicate quickly. Could we see some more stuff like that in the 2030s? Maybe, possibly. But I think that this Slate is almost to me like another Maverick kind of thing that kind of caught everyone off guard with something that car companies didn't anticipate being so hot. And then it was like, you see it, and then it's like, oh, well, duh, I should have thought of that. And, Hyundai responded pretty quickly with Santa Cruz, but everyone else is still not catching up, at least here in America, so I think it might be a while. There's rumors that Toyota is working on a Maverick competitor, and that should be coming, I thought sometime in the next year or two. I don't know, because I haven't seen any spy shots or anything of that either. But, I think first thing you can expect from Toyota would be a Maverick competitor, which probably still isn't going to be super affordable. We'd still be talking about a 30 grand price tag, and so that's why I think Slate's really got the market all to itself. And that's why, as long as it is not super buggy and it's, decent quality. I mean, Tesla got away with terrible quality for years. So, I mean, even if it's not amazing, it's just acceptable quality for that, and they actually keep the price tag super low. I think that the Slate's going to be an enormous hit, and no one's going to be able to copy it, until 2030 at the earliest. But we'll see. And Notorious CRG, thank you for another super chat. He says, Fox Body Stang GT was hot when I graduated in 1988. Nice. I bet. And man, I'm jealous of you growing up in the 80s. That must have been so fun. I'm being a 1990 kid, so bummed I missed out on the 80s, just barely. And yeah, that's that must have been a fun time for sure. The Fox bodies there. And Jordan, thank you so much for another super chat as well. He says, companies should use video game data from Midnight Club, Forza for designs from actual people to release trims in real life. Yeah, I don't know how that data is shared. I'm assuming that kind of stuff isn't for sale. I don't know. I mean, I guess, these days with data, everything is probably being exploited some way. But yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, what you could do in a video game, though, that a car company could replicate, aside, because all that stuff is aftermarket stuff. And they could also just look at, what is the popular aftermarket stuff and copy that. I know with video games, there's more people doing it at scale, but I think, observing the actual aftermarket shows people with actual money doing actual things and being real buyers. That is kind of, I think, the way car companies are figuring is it's a safer bet to, follow that trend versus, video games where people are, putting V12s in Miatas or whatever they do on Forza and, that kind of stuff. But yeah, if there's any other like trim stuff, I feel like usually people with trims and like graphics and stuff, people go crazy in video games, versus like subtle stuff or like a blackout kit you see on, most cars, these days. But, I really want to get into video games more, though, because it's been a long time, far too long since I've played any racing games, and there's some good ones coming out here, I think. But anyway, Jordan, thank you so much for another super chat. And Confirmation, thank you for another super chat as well. He says, tell those cowards at Ford to put the Focus RS engine and drivetrain in the Maverick FFS. Also, have you ever driven the Toyota Tacoma X-Runner? I have not. I mean, those things are unicorns. And unfortunately, I've not had the good fortune of coming across one. But I will absolutely review one if I ever can get my hands on one. And yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think the problem though with Focus RS, I'm not sure if that's, because EcoBoost is kind of the same motor. And and obviously just turns so it's not longitudinally mounted. But I wonder supplier wise if the Focus RS stuff is already gone. I'm sure like that. Well, the rear diff was from, was it, because the Maverick Lobo they said has a rear diff. Did they say it was from Focus RS, or I can't remember what they said. Anyway, yeah, I'm worried that they're just all the suppliers wouldn't be up and running still for that stuff since Focus RS has been gone so long. But if they know how to mount that engine from the EcoBoost, just take it from the EcoBoost Mustang, put it transverse and stuff it in there. That would be amazing. I mean, maybe if Lobo does super well, they will try and come up with some other Frankenstein projects to gauge interest, and maybe we'll see stuff at SEMA, possibly like that. Although I don't think Ford goes to SEMA anymore. But I mean, it'd be cool. I mean, any kind of faster Maverick would be a ton of fun, I think. And yeah, I wish we'd see that. So next time I see Ford, I will put in a good word. But yeah, I'm sure lots of people at Ford would love to see that as well. But I'm sure the business doesn't justify itself with that kind of stuff. But who knows? Again, if the sport truck thing does get really hot, we could see all kinds of stuff come back and cool ideas, and them again going one up and going beyond and above, like we saw Raptor, and then they went to Raptor R to compete with TRX. We could see stuff like that if we start to have like a horsepower war in the sport truck segment. That could be where something like a Focus RS motor comes in. We'll see. But fun idea, and thank you so much again for the super chat confirmation. And let me see here, other questions here, member chats. So where were we here? Rishi says the CRZ gets 34 mpg with a manual and 37 with a CVT. Okay, that's pretty good, But these days, again, I mean, like this, I got a Forester hybrid review coming tomorrow. Like that gets 35 mpg, and it's an SUV, that's heavier and way bigger. So we've come a long way with the hybrids in just the past 10 years or so here. And let me see. Marco says, I just saw a 2022 Civic Sport with the HPD package for 22 grand. Looks cool, but still has the base motor, I believe. Looks really good, though, in that blue. Yeah. So the base Sport, I think only Sport Touring got the turbo. So I believe regular Sport is just going to be non-turbo. But yeah, looks cool. I mean, still is a fun little thing. Handling would be great, even if you don't have a bunch of power. You could always, do some mods yourself to try and get a little more power out of it too, if you want. And let me see. That Car Guy 6 said, did you hear about Stellantis' new CEO? I did. Yeah, Antonio Filosa, I think is how you say his name. He's really nice. He was actually at the Jeep Wagoneer S reveal in New York City about a year ago, and so I got to see him there. I didn't meet him or anything, but he seems really nice. He did a really good job for Jeep in South America. We will just see how he does in the rest of the world, but it sounds like I think Motor One said that he's the guy that talked Tim Kuniskis into coming back to Ram. So if that's the case, then I think it's the brand is in good hands if we have again, because I think Tim's fantastic, and so having him running Ram, and hopefully things continuing to do well for Jeep, although they have had some stumbles here with sales this year, but I hope it works out for them. It is interesting though that they are still sticking with someone within the Stellantis empire. I was kind of thinking and possibly hoping they would get either Tim in there, because I think he's just awesome, Tim Kuniskis. I was hoping he'd be CEO, but if not him, I was kind of hoping that they'd maybe get an outside perspective and get someone who wasn't a Stellantis alum to, come in and give fresh eyes to the whole, company and, empire. And instead, I'm just worried it's going to be more of the same. And, obviously, again, seems like we're getting V8s back, but that's just a temporary thing here, while the emissions regulations allow it for the next 4 years. But, I'm still concerned that it's not going to be a radical new change for Stellantis. Maybe they don't want that or need that. But I was a little surprised they just picked someone who was already, kind of working their way up the ladder anyway. I guess it's, a safe pick. It's someone who knows the company, that's been with the company forever and all that. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, again, he's a super nice guy. Wish him all the best, and we'll see how things play out. And let me see. Notorious is confused about the basil flavored ice cream. Yeah, I've never tried it, but now I'm curious. And B Mitchell said YouTube certainly doesn't like you live streaming on Wednesday. It dropped on my PC twice, and it even dropped on my phone. Weird. Hopefully, no one else had any issues with the stream here. But thanks for letting me know about that, B Mitchell. Let me see. Michelle says, hope Toyota makes the hatch bigger for the next gen Corolla. Yeah, me too, for sure. I feel like they must. They're going to have to if they actually want to compete with Civic, because right now it doesn't compete very well, unfortunately. Marco says, oh man, I was about to say you look really young. I graduated in 2014, so you're probably around my brother-in-law's age. Nice. Yeah. Let me see. B Mitch also says, are you sure those BMW turn signals aren't sourced from Lucas? Yeah, I mean, which I don't even know who Lucas supplies stuff for. Because there's Lucas Oil, but I don't know any other Lucas, but I'm guessing it's a historical thing that you probably know more about than I do. And B Mitchell, I actually thought of you because I just stumbled upon, I don't know if you saw, but in Illinois, it's a place called Country Classic Cars. It was this old place that sold like mostly like more rundown, rough kind of vintage cars. I didn't even realize they went out of business back in the end of January, and they had like a no reserve auction on like over 120 cars. And I'm so upset that I missed out and I didn't know about it, because there was like some classics, like nice, like 46 Fords, like all this stuff that no one else my age actually wants, but like I would totally have scooped up for like, they're like $5,000, $6,000. There's like a Mercury Monterey, like a 1954 for like $8,000. That was actually in nice shape, running, driving, nice paint cars and all this. And I'm like, man, if I would have known about that at the end of January, early February, like that was when I was, shopping with the Fiat 500e and figuring out, a kind of a little, backup car for myself. Obviously the Fiat is, even though it's tiny, it's way safer than a classic and way more reliable and easier to live with and all that. But man, if I would have known, I would have been real tempted to just scoop up, one of these classic cars for like $5,000 and just do it as a whole separate channel, revive my vintage car fan channel that I have, and just like document what it's like to be living with this, car, and just have it as a backup car, like the Fiat is, where it just sits most of the time. But I'm like, man, I missed out, because that's the cheapest I've seen those kinds of cars go for. And it's really interesting. I hope it's unfortunate for classic car collectors, but for someone like me that's hoping these things get dirt cheap someday, it was like fun little preview into like what is possible. There was like a 1949 Pontiac Chieftain, I think, that even that was like, I think $5,000 or something, and it was in nice shape. I'm like, man, I got so triggered this morning. I found this stuff. I'm like, I had no clue they were doing that. I wish I would have known. That could have been a fun little video series, I think, even though probably only 3 people would be interested in me driving a car from the 1940s or 50s. But I would have had a lot of fun with it. Maybe actually it might be more popular than the Fiat. So probably not a high bar to clear there. But anyway, just thought of you, B Mitchell, and wanted to bring that up in case you heard about that or not. But anyway, TFI says, if you have unlimited funds, theoretically, you could import a half shell of a Corolla Touring Sport, which is the wagon version, weld it to the back of a Corolla hatch, and extend the drive shaft to make a GRC wagon. That would be very sweet. There's a nice build idea for someone wants to do a fun project car. Somebody should do that for SEMA. That would be awesome. CDM SVT says, I'm working on an abandoned C5 Corvette. Awesome. Well, congrats on finding a fun car to work on, and kudos to you for bringing another Corvette back to life. Let me see here. So two says we can just get more basement chatter here. And Let me see. Grant says, Matt, 3 Series or Julia for a daily beater car or other options under 30 grand with some fun. I can't do my Accord anymore as a daily. Just upgrade my weekend toy from my GTS to GT3. I think I thought we discussed this in last week's live stream. Maybe you missed my answer because maybe it was a little bit delayed. I think Julia is definitely the way I would go. 3 Series is the way most everyone else would go because it's better technology, a little more space, easier to live with, better perceived reliability. Although I think Julia's after the first model year were pretty solid and actually have more reliable track record than people give them credit for. If you actually look at Carfaxes and talk to owners and stuff like that. So personally, if I was in your shoes, I'd go Julia. It drives so well. 3 Series is great too. Just everyone's got a 3 Series. Julia looks better in my opinion too. That's my personal preference, but both are great choices, I think. Other options under 30 grand. It sounds like you're shopping for luxury sedans. I think other stuff, I'm not sure exactly how much they're down to now, but Kia Stinger GT is another favorite Grand Tourer that you can get for around that kind of money that I really like. Otherwise, another cool option, I'm not sure how you feel about EVs, but Hyundai Ioniq 6, you can get one of those used. Really, sleek, really, pretty quick. And those are just insanely cheap. You can get one for under $30,000, and really a great car too. So probably some of my top picks, some of those too, but Julia absolutely, because you can get those for like 20 grand and fantastic deal. Civic Si is another fun one. You can pick up if you want a manual or if you don't need all the luxury. Integra, you can probably get a used Integra now for under 30. So there's some of those types of vehicles as well, but Julia is a great choice. And Trenton says, hi, Matt, does Ford ever invite you to see or test drive prototypes while still in development? No, unfortunately not. I've never had any car company invite me to do any kind of, development test driving stuff. I can say I am, there's a few things that I'm not at liberty to discuss that I have, seen from a couple of different car companies that, is like future stuff. But that's, it's always just been like static stuff, nothing as far as driving. I would be honored to be invited to test drive prototypes or give any kind of input. I'd love to do that. I've always loved the idea of doing consulting in any form. Just giving my feedback and being like the loud, belligerent, annoying person that says the stuff that no one else in the boardroom is comfortable saying. I think, I can't remember who it was. If it was Savage Geese or someone else that was talking about, there's a position in a lot of these, especially Asian car companies, of just like the loud American, of like someone who just like is just like an outsider that's like giving their 2 cents. And I think I'd be very well suited for that role. So, but no, unfortunately, never had any opportunities like that. Maybe someday I'll keep my fingers crossed, but no such luck. And let me see. Adam says, Matt, I'm having my second child soon, tossing around the idea of selling my ZL1. I have a GMC Sierra, but I want a 4-door car that's fun to drive, so it's easier for the kids. Wife has a 2022 WRX. Thoughts? Well, I guess it comes down to exactly, what your preferences are. But just based on, assuming you like the ZL1 and you already have a WRX, to stick with something in the GM portfolio, I feel like that'd be maybe, more comfortable, possibly, considering your history. I would probably recommend like a Chevy SS sedan. Those are fantastic. Same great, alpha platform, same kind of, generation as your ZL1, because I think from your little thumbnail picture there, it looks like it's a Gen 5. So Chevy SS would be a great, kind of lateral position. Obviously, no supercharger for that. Could probably put one on pretty easily if you wanted. So ZL1's great. I think also you could see, again, I don't know how much money you have to work with, but, a used ATS-V. ATS is a little tight on the back seat, might not be the best, but CTS-V could be better. That could be a fun choice used. And then, You can also go to, CT4, CT5, even a used non-V version of those, or the regular V, that's now their Blackwing and all that, is the higher version. So, I mean, but any of that kind of stuff, you'd be on the Alpha platform, kind of familiar GM stuff. I think that could probably be a really good fit. So, also if you want to go older, you go Pontiac G8, GT, get something like that as well. So, kind of trying to give you a wide range of prices here, vehicles that I think could maybe, be a good stepping stone from the ZL1 with 4 doors. Other than that, the other thing people, that are in your position do is they go and buy a charger, pick your engine, whatever, your budget is, that's probably going to be a pretty natural kind of transition as well for you there. Those are probably my best suggestions without having any more context as far as exactly what you're looking for. But all of those obviously are going to be fun to drive. But beyond that, yeah, if there's any other things that you need or want, let me know. Again, for anyone that's playing the GR Corolla drinking game at home, GR Corolla would be another great choice. Between I think the cheapest I've seen them on the used market for, because I just looked this week, was about 33, 34 grand. All the way up to new ones can get to almost 50. So GR Corolla is also very fun. Not a huge back seat, smaller than the WRX, but a great choice there as well. Civic Si, things like that, also all good. So hopefully it helps you a little bit though. And that car guy says, I rather see fuel efficiencies eliminated and bring back more cylinders. That's the way a lot of car companies are going. We'll see. And sorry, I missed it. It's not letting me know about the new super chat, so I apologize, guys. So Jordan, thank you for a super chat. He says, why does the big three continue with bloated vehicles? Because people want it. If they quit buying them, then they quit building them. They just follow demand, and that's where the demand leads them. This is why we see just things continue to get bigger and bigger, because that's what people seem to want. And Notorious CRG, thank you so much for another super chat. He says, have you done a poll of what your followers drive? I have not. That would be a really fun. I'm not sure how to even do that, because that would be, like with a poll, you usually have options. So I could do like a survey. I have no idea. I've never done like a Survey Monkey thing or whatever. These like, I also don't know. I mean, I guess I could just share the link on YouTube and then have everyone kind of chime in there. That would be interesting to hear, what everyone kind of has, or even just if I just said, where, what brand is your car or something like that, and had people vote. I'm not sure how, I'd at least be able to do a decent amount of car companies, but I'm not sure how many options I'd have. But yeah, that's a fun idea. Could make for a fun video too, of just being like, what do you guys drive? Like, here's what the results say, and kind of discussing that. That could be kind of a fun idea. I appreciate that. And I just have no idea how to do that, but I'll have to look into that and see. Also, we are coming up on time because it is going to be a little bit of a shorter one. So I'm going to just do the last couple of super chats here to try to do the last few member questions here, and then we will head out, and I will see you guys on Sunday. But Jordan, thank you for a super chat. He says, has anyone ever been to the Tallahassee Automobile Museum? I have not. Maybe some others have, but I have never even heard of that one. And thank you for a super chat. He says, have you ever wanted to be a car salesman, or do you have morals? I worked at car dealerships, never as a salesman. I think, for me, I respect salesmen. I mean, my brother-in-law was a car salesman for a while. I have friends that are salesmen. I know people that own car dealerships and all that. There's definitely ways to do it, where you can, have morals and, be a decent person and sell cars. But it's just a very tough business. It's high burnout. And it's not the way it used to be, where people would buy from their salesman that they had for decades and kept coming back to. Repeat business is really hard to get these days. And it's just, I see why it says salesman with morals equals low sales. I mean, it's just, it's something you really got to be very, cutthroat. I mean, even my brother-in-law, he just got out of car sales because he was over it, because just the crappy stuff some dealerships do. If you're at a good dealer, maybe there's some staying power there, but it's just a very tough business. And also, especially these days, I wouldn't recommend anyone getting into car sales because all these car companies are trying to get rid of dealerships because the dealerships are just crappy experiences for everybody. And even if most car companies won't admit it openly, you see how they're trying to have these new like offshoots of these different like sub brands that are going to be like, oh, this is going to be online only. And then the dealers get all mad and sue and, get all annoyed about it. So, I think the truth is in all that stuff that, they just want to get rid of dealerships. And I think they will be successful eventually. And so that's why I don't think it's a great thing as far as at least a long-term career. But I'm sure there's some money to be made, short term. What I've learned is it seems like used car sales is the way to go. Working at a used car dealer, you have huge margins versus new cars. Everyone knows the invoice price. Everyone has all the info, and there's really no hope of good margins unless you're talking about collectible stuff. You're working for a high-end brand that you're paying over a sticker for Porsches and stuff. That's the only kind of way you make any real money. Otherwise, you got to go to the used market because no one knows how much you paid for that trade-in that you're now selling on the lot, or no one knows how much you picked up that car at the auction for. So that used car sales is where the money's at, in my understanding of the whole situation. But yeah. Anyway, thank you for the super chat. Confirmation, thank you for our super chat as well. It says, please be the loud American for Subaru for my sake. Oh man, I honestly think I wouldn't do it for free because they got the money, but I would definitely do that for very little money and just try to make some changes if they ever cared. But again, they're doing fantastic with their sales, and so at least for the time being, they're on cloud nine. And Jordan, thank you for a super chat. He says, Matt, film a tour of the Tallahassee Automobile Museum. Chad and I are going this year. Nobody knows about it. Well, definitely, take some pictures and send them over if you don't mind. I'd love to see what they have there. But yeah, museums. Unfortunately, nobody. I've tried filming museums a long time ago, and maybe these days it's slightly better, but I feel like no one would watch a video on that. I'd love to be proven wrong because I love museums, and I'd happily go around and give my thoughts on it, but I just don't know that a lot of people would watch that. But maybe it'd be worth a try for at least one video and see. But I have other ideas I want to try out first, I think. So anyway, we are at the 1 hour mark. So just to try and keep this shorter, I am going to just do the last couple of member questions and then sign off here. And I'll see everyone else on Sunday. And again, as always, feel free to send me a message if you have a question you want answered sooner, and I'd be more than happy to get to that eventually here. And let me see. So Richie says, genuinely excited for the Prelude as much as I love manuals. I'm just happy that a car like that exists from Honda. I hope it is fun. I hope that it is, really a cool car. And I'm looking forward to seeing it here. I think this fall, they said. And ZA Kitehook, thanks so much for stopping by. Says, hey, man, hope all is going well. Hope everything's going well for you. Thanks for stopping by. Let me see. So, Notorious CRG says the tiny Toyota is called the Stout. Who knows when it comes out, though? Well, there is this. I thought the Stout was the thing that's sold in other Asian markets, but I thought there was going to be maybe the Stout is what they're going to be calling the Maverick competitor. I thought that was different. I could be wrong, because the thing that I saw is just it was only a concept car so far, and it's got the smoothed over kind of styling. It doesn't look retro like the Stout kind of does. Marco says everything's for sale, especially our data, even our game chats. Okay, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. And Linda says both my kids were born in the 80s. That was before Facebook, etc. Today, all the online stuff is challenging for kids and their parents. I agree, definitely is. Let me see, Vinder, thanks for stopping by. Sorry that I'll be signing off here, but looking forward to chatting more on Sunday for sure. Linda says she loves her husband's 2004 Lexus. It has held up really well and definitely kept us posted. Keep us posted when your articles post. We'll do. Yeah, I'll definitely be sharing them. I think I'm just going to do them as community posts here on YouTube. So stay tuned. Make sure you're checking that out in the sub feed. Whenever I do post those. But new ones should be coming out soon. Let me see. So Michelle says maybe you could generalize it. Yeah, as far as American, German, Japanese, just have people list their cars in the chat. But yeah, I can also just do that and kind of compile stuff. That could be yeah. I could use ChatGPT to compile the hundreds of responses, and maybe that could be a way to kind of compile that. I mean, that's a good idea. Maybe just try that. And Notorious also says, I think people would love to share their fleets. Yeah, I'm sure they would. So that's a great idea. And let me see. So all right, I think we've just about caught up here. So Decepticon says Matt Moran in the house tonight. Yep, just for an hour. Just going to try doing a shorter one, see how that works in the future. But yeah, I think this was really good. I won't be able to do one next week because I will be traveling next Wednesday. But the following Wednesday, I'll do another one of these. But yeah, I think hopefully you guys enjoyed this little midweek stream here, and we even talked a little bit of card news there with the Stellantis CEO and stuff. And so yeah, looking forward to doing another one of these soon. Thanks so much for those of you who decided to come join and hang out, and hope you have a great rest of your week. Stay tuned for another review here tomorrow on the Forester Hybrid, and some more good stuff here next week. And I'll see you guys also on Sunday. So thanks so much for watching. Confirmation as the last super chat here at the end says BMW M CEO says M5 wagon is more in demand in the US. Yes, I saw that, which I'm very excited about. I hope this means we get all the future wagons from BMW, and we'll keep our fingers crossed that other companies take note of this and follow suit. That would be fantastic. But anyway, again, thank you all so much for watching. Have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you guys on Sunday for the next one. Take care.